G'day legends and welcome back to another analysis. I hope you're all having a fantastic start to your day. In today's analysis, we are taking a look at Bitcoin's macro and short term as Bitcoin continues to drop toward the downside, rejecting perfectly from that point of resistance we predicted days ago at 67.5, depicted by this chart in one of our most recent videos. We have now seen Bitcoin drop a considerable amount, around about 6 to 7% from that key high time frame resistance. And as a consequence, it has broken below a very important short-term uptrend spanning back around 10 days ago and the horizontal point of resistance on the weekly chart. Is Bitcoin still preparing for that next leg down? How are these short-term charts looking? What should you expect next? What are our targets, invalidations, and much more? These are the questions we are answering in the analysis. We'll also take a look at those macro charts discussing the bear market bottom, bear market invalidations, and we'll be going over the upcoming and recent economic news. Before we get into it, make sure to smash that like button, hit that comment button, and subscribe to the channel. We post daily videos for Bitcoin focusing on the facts, the data, the technical, and the structural information. Absolutely no hype, no BS, no emotion, just pure, raw TA. And if that is the kind of content you are interested in, join us on Telegram. 100% free forever. The link down below. You'll get access to charts, updates, analysis, educational posts, news events, really everything you need to know between our videos are posted in this group. Go ahead and check that out, the first link down below. Let's jump on into Bitcoin and take a look at the price action. As we've said, Bitcoin has dropped a pretty considerable amount, around 7% over the last 3 days, pushing back into that high to low $62,000, $63,000 region, falling back underneath that recent low, which was established around 63.7, which we know to be essentially when we started hearing more signs of the peace deal. And the peace deal, number 38, by the way, that was the 38th peace deal, resulting in a push up in the price action. And guess what? In the last 12 hours, we have heard news that Iran is not facilitating that peace deal to go forward. They're not abiding by what is expected. They're unwilling to meet up. They're unwilling to negotiate as a consequence to recent hostilities. And, you know, this is peace deal number 38 that has now basically all but crumbled apart. So who knows what's going to happen in the future? Maybe we get peace deal 39, maybe peace deal 45 is the one that goes through, or maybe not. We'll see how it plays out. Let's jump into the rest of it. So market data, 24-hour volume actually dropping. We're down 7%, 188 billion over here. Liquidations up 8%, 473 million. We're looking at 375 million in long liquidations as the market does tumble on the short term. Moving over to the DXY, pushing up, actually breaking out of that major downtrending resistance, a resistance we have been underneath for around about a year. Very, very important level of resistance. We are also coming to test the 200 EMA for the first time since we broke below it back in April 2025. We talked already about by breaking this region here will likely result in a continuation into this level, which is sitting around 104. Now, this would be bearish for the risk asset market and it would push the risk asset market likely toward the downside, resulting in continuations down for Bitcoin and likely tops or local tops for the broader stock market. So pay attention to that. Looking at the S&P 500, really struggling here to break back above that recent high, possibly creating a short-term double top. We are, of course, very, very skeptical on how the S&P has been performing. We know that AI has been really the driving force behind the S&P 500 pushing upwards. And if we do see that continue, yeah, sure, we could see the S&P 500 continue higher. A lot of people talk about the AI bubble popping and when that's going to happen. I'm not really one to make predictions about, bubbles popping. I think we hear that all the time. we're just going to see how it goes. I'm just going to trade the charts for what it is. At the moment, we're neutral on the S&P 500. We have seen, you know, a various amount of bearish divergences over here as we are failing to break these highs. We established a lower low for the first time a while back, just before that peace deal. And, you know, if we do see that 50 EMA break again, we will likely continue lower. It's really a battle between these highs and these lows over here. So watching to see what happens. A lot of people are saying, well, Whale, if the peace deal comes through, if it finally gets confirmed, will the bear market end for Bitcoin? And my answer is no, I don't think it will. The reason being is because the peace deal, the war didn't start the bear market. It will likely not end it. I think the end of the bear market will have something to do with MSTR, with Michael Saylor, with what's happening with him and Bitcoin. I think something around that will be a defining moment for the end of the bear market, but let's just see how it goes. That is it, guys. Let's jump into Bitcoin. A lot to discuss, like we said, from the macro to the short term to the high time frame. Really everything you need to know today. Before we jump into it, I do only ask one thing from my viewers, and if you like the content that I make, if you find it beneficial, educational, we try and make it the best, most informed content on the internet. We don't try show altcoins or pump and dump things. We have nothing paid. Everything's for free for you guys. No fake biases, just pure raw TA. If you appreciate that kind of content and you want to support me continuing to make it for you guys, take 5 seconds. It only literally takes 5 seconds. Click the link down below. BitUnix, sign up. 15 to 45% of your trading fees based on, of course, your volume. You'll get access to our bonus campaigns. Only MegaWhale crypto community gets access to this every single month. We've given away over $500,000 in the last 12 months. We're going to give away a bunch more every single month to you guys through BitUnix. Use the link down below, trade on exchanges I trust, support me making the content, support yourself with bonuses. It costs you absolutely nothing and it means a lot. Thank you very much. We'll play an ad and we'll get back in. If you are looking for a new exchange or just want to support the channel, sign up to BitUnix with the link down below. You'll get a lifetime trading fee discount of 15%, which can build up to 45% based on your trading volume, as well as access to a bonus reward center, and of course, all of the exclusive campaigns we run on this exchange. You'll also get access to BitUnix being a non-KYC exchange, meaning you can sign up from anywhere in the globe without regulations. And most importantly, I only promote exchanges I trust and I use. As you can see, I trade on BitUnix very regularly, being the highest VIP level with over $500 million in trading volume for the last 30 days. And lastly, if you were interested in signing up to our other two exchanges, BingX or BitGet, you can also do that via the links down below. You as well will get the 15% trading fee discount and everything else that comes with it. Go ahead and sign up. Thank you for supporting. Let's jump back in. Legends, let's get back into it. Bitcoin, Bitcoin, Bitcoin. The bottom's in, the bottom's not in, the bottom's in, the bottom's not in. You've probably heard that a billion times over the last few weeks, over the last few months, and you're probably going to hear it a billion more times until we actually get confirmation. And the reality is people, they flip-flop. They flip-flop based on the color of the candles because they have these preconceived ideas, these biases that they've established for almost no reason other than they feel like the market should go there or they want to see the market to go there. And this self-serving bias you see in the cryptocurrency market is intense, not only for cryptocurrency, but for all markets. You know, I've recently I've got into the Pokemon space a couple months ago, and you try have a contrarian opinion. You try have an opinion that goes against the crowd and you get shut down, belittled, attacked, you get called names, and then it's exactly the same thing we see in cryptocurrency. From the tops, when I called the top, to the bottoms, when I balked the bottoms, the vast majority of people are against you. And guess what, guys? That is a fantastic sign. When you're in a market where every single person agrees with you, everyone thinks the same way, it's not really a good sign. It doesn't mean you're early, it means you're late. When everyone's against you and almost everyone's ignoring the space, everyone's, disinterested, it means the market is generally undervalued. I say generally because it's not always the case. But when we look at Bitcoin in comparison to the S&P 500, in comparison to AI companies, Bitcoin is incredibly undervalued on the macro scale. In comparison, at the moment, we're sitting at $62,000. We're down over 50% from the all-time highs just 8 or so months ago. There's so much opportunity in cryptocurrency, but so few people are willing to look at it. And the opportunity, although we're not executing it at the moment, there will be a lot of opportunity, and the time will come again where cryptocurrency does get the hype and attention and Bitcoin recovers back to all-time highs. It is an inevitability. It is going to happen at some point. The question is when. So don't get distracted. If you're the only person in your friend group, the only person you know that's into cryptocurrency, use that as a good sign, because back in 2016, 2017, when I was trading, 2015, when I was learning how to trade, every person I knew told me I was stupid. Every person I knew didn't believe in me. Every person I knew told me I was wasting my time. And that is just a good sign. It's a good sign. It means you're onto something. So let's jump into it, guys. Weekly candle. We talked about it a lot. We've talked really about the weekly candle in reference to the closing price, and that's really what we're watching. While the weekly candle remains underneath and closes underneath 65.7 to 66,000, it is bearish. There is no doubt about it. We are expecting continuations lower. Only upon the weekly close above 66,000 will we actually see a proper recovery for Bitcoin. We can see the price push up on the daily, on the 2-day, and we can see a close back below on the weekly. Irrelevant. We're watching the weekly candle closing price. Furthermore, now that we have dropped a considerable amount, we are watching the weekly opening of the prior weekly, and we're watching for a bearish engulfing candle. If we can actually close under 62.9 here on the weekly, that is going to turbocharge this downward move. It is going to speed up the downward move, and it will likely trigger that downward move from developing. Now, what is that downward move you were talking about, Whale? That is the downward move we are expecting to take place, which should take us to 52,000. And it's been a long journey to 52,000. And as you guys know, on the 10th of October, 2025, 2 days after the top, I gave you on Twitter my bottom target. My initial bottom target was 48 to 52,000. Okay, we are down almost there. We're like a couple $1,000s away, right? I do think we're going to go lower than that. I've readjusted that over time, but 52,000 was always a key point of support. It was that major sell side liquidity point right over here, when everyone turned bearish again. I don't know if you guys remember it, back in the cryptocurrency market, the 5th of August 2024, that major 20% drop we saw, everyone turned bearish again. We longed the bottom at 49,000. We rallied this entire move up, making a hell of a lot of profit. And this over here was a major point of liquidity. We're watching for that to be retraced back to that level at some point, hence 52,000 being a target. On the weekly chart, there's not really much more to watch. When we're looking at our indicators, we're looking at, things like the baseline of the Ichimoku cloud. We're looking at things like the 50 EMA. We're looking at things like the Gaussian channel. A lot of these levels have prior been retested and rejected from already, and that happened on the move up to 80,000. So we know already for the bear market to officially end, we'll show you in a second, there are a variety of indicators we can look at to confirm the bear market ending, one of which is the breakout of the baseline of the Ichimoku cloud, which is this darker red line. It's impossible to give you a price because that does adjust over time, but currently that is sitting around 78,000. So based on historical data, if Bitcoin were to get back above 78,000, that would confirm the bear market is over. But until that happens, we are very much still in a bear market, as we've been saying, and we're very much still expecting lower prices. I'm going to say something very speculative here. And I do my very best to stay away from any sort of speculative analysis. But people do ask me, Whale, how do you think the bottom will look? When do you think the bottom will happen? And at the moment, we're looking at the 4-year cycle bottom, which is the 5th of October. Will it happen then? I've got no clue. We talked about, probabilities in terms of bottom target, top targets. And we did this mathematical equation over here on the left-hand side. We looked at again, standard deviation ranges. You can see all the math we did over here to predict when the top was in, at what date would the top be 100% certain in, etc., etc. We'll likely do a similar thing for the bottom, but what that data showed us at the end of the day was there was a lot of data to suggest the top range was in that October period. It happened to line up perfectly with that top date of the 6th of October. So will we expect the 5th of October to be the exact bottom? I don't think so. I don't know. Maybe it will. It very well could be based on the 1064 day bar theory. But what we're looking for a bottom, we're looking for some sort of volatile move in here, some consolidation, then liquidity grabs below, and then continue back up. That's some sort of move we're looking toward the bottom. I think that would be what we're looking for. I think a lot of people will expect this to be the bottom a little early, then we'll see that next leg down to 44 to 38,000, and then a lot of people are going to say 30,000 is the bottom, 20,000 is the bottom, and I think those people are going to be left behind. So again, we're watching for the general consensus of the market to also shift. We're watching to see how people respond to the price reaching key levels of support, because so far, through every major drop into every major support, people have still been very bullish. People have still been saying the bottom is in, the bottom is in. We're waiting for the point at which we drop down and people say the bottom's not in. We're going much lower. And I think that's going to be a good indication that the bottom's actually going to be very close. So again, highly speculative that. Something we don't like to do much on the channel, but just food for thought, something I'm thinking about, okay? Let's jump into the short term. So short-term price action looking very bearish, of course. We've dropped below the RSI. The RSI, yet again, being a leading sign for the price dropping down. We saw the RSI uptrend break over here. Since then, we're down 7%. So a pretty significant pullback for Bitcoin. Dropping below the uptrend, dropping into that prior low established from the news event, which resulted in a rally. We dropped right through there. We've continued down. We are now underneath this cluster of support. If we go to the daily chart, you can see that cluster of support is the daily low from the most recent daily lows in the prior uptrend. So this is the prior uptrend. The earliest daily lows were these two levels. That is going to be our range. We're dropping below that region. And we've talked already about if we can maintain on around 62.9 thousand, we're expecting those direct continuations into these lows at 60, and that is going to be the testing point. This is going to be the line in the sand. If we were to look at two important levels, and we delete everything off the chart, the two important levels we're watching is level 1, this most recent high, okay, which corresponds to this little region of liquidity right over here, okay, and then level 2 is going to be these most recent lows. These are the important levels. We're talking about levels that would impact the macro direction, right? If we're talking about short-term moves, right, we're looking at all these short-term levels like we've been doing. But if we're talking about at what point would the price break above or break below a horizontal level, which would likely massively influence the upcoming weeks of price action, well, that would be this low and this high. So we could chop around over here. Who knows how it's going to play out, right? But we are watching reactions at these levels. If we break this region, we look for continuations lower. We short up over here. We look to exit those shorts on the way down. Again, if we break above this region, we're clearing the 200 EMA, we could see rallies up to 72,000. Very possible. But at the moment, based on the price action is going, it doesn't look incredibly likely unless we start to see more news that will push it up. So on the short-term price action, I'm expecting the trend to continue. We've got a very clearly established downtrend. If we go down to the hourly chart, we can see a very clearly established downtrend right over here. And we talked about this in our most recent video. We said that we could push up over here and come back down, or we'll just chop and go right down. We talked about it in our most recent video. And what we said in the most recent video was that only upon breaking this downtrend, we expect rallies back into these highs. So there's movement room. There's breathing room for the price over here to still continue lower, but also to push a little higher, retest these points of short-term liquidity, and then drop back down. Both are very possible. So we're watching out for further corrections into these supports, and we're expecting this current trajectory to continue regardless of the short-term chop, provided we remain underneath the downtrend. If we break below that key high timeframe resistance and key high timeframe support, we can then expect the consequential higher timeframe directional moves to play out. Okay, macro, let's get into it. So high timeframe chart, Bitcoin bottom, Bitcoin top, blah, blah, blah. What's going to happen? Where's Bitcoin going to bottom? How's it bottomed out historically? We've used a bunch of models to discuss this, one of which was the RSI model, and I'd like to bring this up again today because the reason we're bringing it up again today is because we're dropping back into it. And if we take a look at the RSI, we've got very notable points on the chart, very notable points on the chart. And those notable points I want to firstly draw your attention to are going to be these red vertical lines. And this one over here is yellow, but it's also red, okay? So the far left one, you can see the yellow is covering up the red, but it's also red. I want you to take a look at the candle prior to the red vertical line. And also want you to take a look at the red vertical line itself, but also just take a look first and foremost, the candle to prior, just to the left of the red vertical line. And then look at the RSI. And what we notice on the candle prior to the red vertical line, we see the RSI dropping in, right? We see the RSI dropping in, And then on the red line, we have the confirmation that we've closed within the channel. What we see on the red line candle, which should occur after we drop into the RSI, is that candle itself is a massive, massive candle. And if we zoom into it, we can see all three of them have been incredibly bearish. If we take a look at this one, this was a candle 43% on the monthly. This one over here, 38% on the monthly. This one over here, well, let's look at the candle, let me look at the wicks. The candle body itself, 32% on the monthly. Massive percentages for just the candle itself, the body of the candle, not even taking into consideration any wicks on the candle, right? Huge, huge, huge percentages there. So what this is telling us is it's warning us, guys. It's warning us that if we are to see this downward continuation continue, which is likely going to happen on the weekly, we're going to break into this RSI level. And historically, after doing so, we have seen a major, and what I'd consider to be the final large monthly candle for the bear market. It doesn't mean we don't go lower, but it is the final large monthly candle we've seen in the bear market. 30 to 50% we have seen historically. Let's just talk about what that would look like. Let's just say in 12 days from now, we close at the price of 60,000. 30% would take us 41, 40%, 36, 50%, 30. I don't think we're going to see 30,000, but it's definitely very possible that we come into that $40,000 region. So again, pay attention to this. Will this play out perfectly? Will it mark the bottom? Will it be able to predict everything? Who knows? It has so far. Will it do it again? Possibly. So pay attention. I'm going to leave the video there, guys. Have a fantastic rest of your day. I hope you enjoyed. As I said already, if you like the content I make, really take a few seconds. Sign up to BitUnix after you finish watching this video. Support yourself. Get yourself access to bonus discounts. Why not? Get yourself access to these monthly campaigns that we run, right? Thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars in rewards, thousands of dollars of bonuses, a whole variety of stuff for you guys, literally for free. There is literally no reason not to do it. You'll support me, you'll support yourself, you'll get access to all of those bonuses. Takes a few seconds. I appreciate it. Thanks for tuning in. Catch you guys in the next one. See you then.